Yes. So roughly every 6 days, the sun will move into a new gate on the mandala. And so we do these episodes to kind of highlight what's going to be happening in the month so we can all kind of just be aware and kind of see how it plays out in our lives when the sun transits into these.
Yeah. Human Design reveals who you are energetically and who you came here to be. I'm Dana, Human Design Specialist.
And I'm Haley, the Human Design Newbie. Listen in as we explore how leaning into your authentic self is your ultimate path to success. Welcome to the Human Design Hive Podcast. Let's get into it.
Hello, Haley. How you doing?
Hi. Good.
Long time no see.
Not really.
Yeah, not really. It was good to see you. Yes, so whether or not everybody's hanging on to every happening in our lives, we did just spend the weekend together.
Yes.
In Asheville, North Carolina. I can substantiate the rumors.
Yes, I can confirm.
We were there for your brother's wedding, Hunter.
Yay. Yes.
Who now has this beautiful bride, Lexi, who Lexi has been in the picture for quite some time, but now it's official. And oh my gosh, so like while we're recording this, I think they head off onto their big
honeymoon.
adventure.
Yeah.
I think they leave this weekend, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I regret not having a honeymoon. You had one, but we didn't. We were very, well, I take that back. I mean, yeah, we lived together. We were very, very young. We didn't have resources, but we did kind of go on a honeymoon about 3 or 4 weeks before we got married. We went on a job interview in the British Virgin Islands.
Oh,
I just said British Virgin Islands in Tortola. You know that, right? I told you that before.
I think so.
Yeah.
But I think I've only ever heard that story once.
Well, your dad is a boat captain, and that was really, he started his official career. So that was 1993. I think he may have gotten his license in 91 or 92. I don't remember. But he had been doing some sailboat deliveries from here in South Carolina down to the islands, and hooked up with a really great guy that was the captain. And so he was just crewing and getting the experience. And we had the idea to we went to interview with one of the beerboat charter companies to be like captain and crew, because I knew how to cook. He knew how to sail. And we thought we would go do that because we were young and we didn't have any kids. And well, we didn't get hired. So it all worked out the way it should, I'm sure, because I don't think I would have enjoyed it that much now in retrospect. Because I think it would have been, I would have spent most of my time below deck, which love that show. But those were not big boats. It would have been like your dad and me and people, renting it for bareboat charters. But so that was our honeymoon. That's your dad and I, couple of entrepreneurial manifesting generators, go on a working honeymoon.
Before you're actually married.
Before the wedding. We skipped a step. But we've now been married a long time, 30 years.
Ooh.
And we still haven't taken a vacation type thing. Maybe soon. But anyway, so don't you love, I love how I do that. I love how I start talking about someone else and turn it around on me.
I've just seen lots of things on that. Like people are like, well, I want to tell you the story that relates to it because it shows that I relate to you, but I also don't want to just make it seem like I'm talking about myself. I'm like, I feel that.
Yeah, I do that a lot. But so this weekend was great. It got all of us together. Lots of ideas brewing and just being in each other's energy. So much fun. And we shared a house together. That was do you know? Okay, so we're laughing because this is another experience of, it wasn't an Airbnb, it was VRBO.
Yeah.
But it was a great house. It worked. But I just, oh my gosh, I love getting into these houses and being like, what? Why is that there?
It was the weirdest layout of a house. It was literally, we all were getting lost.
Oh, I did. The first time we went through the house and we're trying to find all the bedrooms, I never got lost in a house before, but I'm like, wait a minute, what room was that? Which room am I in? And somebody said, where's my closet? I don't.
It was so odd. There were like, I swear, 40 doors in this house, like outside doors to the outside.
But I do appreciate all the labels. There were labels on absolutely everything, except for in the kitchen. It was that great? It was a big kitchen, and it had a very big table in the middle, a big square high table, which was great, almost like a table kitchen island, and probably had like 12 chairs. I mean, it was big.
It was a
really
lot.
big. And obviously would spend time there. But so it had all these recessed lights, and it had lights over the table. And we were trying to go to bed that night. Or I think we were just hanging out in the living room. I could not figure out how to turn those lights off because there was a light switch, and then next to it had one of those dial dimmer switches. So usually use it for a dimmer switch, and which I associate with one, a dimmer, or two ceiling fans, right? And I could not figure out how to turn these recessed lights off. They were so bright because I thought it was saying, what did it say?
You
ceiling
thought it
fans.
said ceiling fans.
Yeah. And no, I read it. It did say ceiling cans, but I thought that just is a typo on the label because obviously this dial is for a ceiling fan.
There were no ceiling fans in the kitchen.
That's what I couldn't figure out why it didn't work. And it was not a dimmer. It was literally just an on-off switch for the recessed lights, the ceiling cans. I would never call those can lights. I mean, technically that's what they are, but I don't call them ceiling cans. But it makes me feel stupid. But anyways, it was an interesting house, and it was very well appointed. But I'm still trying to get the layout in my head. It kind of reminds me of my sister's house. That you haven't been there. It's not nearly as big as this house was. I mean, it's decent size. It's not like when I was in Nancy's house, I would try to visualize in my head what the layout was of that house and where it sat on the lot. And I could never get that in this house either. Like where we entered and where I thought my window in my room should be looking out of. I could never get it straight in my head, which is dumb. I mean, I should be able to figure that out. But
the wing, I guess you could say, that was like y'all's bedrooms. I went in there like once when we first got in there, so I have no idea what it looks like over there.
It was like a very strange, but it worked. Hey, you know what? Other than
everyone had a bedroom.
Yeah, everyone had a bedroom. It was great. And I wanted you and I at first, or not even at first, but I think a lot of times we have the unfair advantage in the crowd now because we know everybody's design. And it's so fun to watch.
It was very evident at dinner the first night.
Yeah. Well, we talk about my sister Nancy quite often on here. And if she's listening, hey.
Hi, Nancy.
But she's a 4/1 manifesting generator. And when we talk about manifesting generators, I always have your dad in mind because I'm so used to living with him and all he has so many manifesting generator qualities, but he's also a 1/3 and she's a 4/1. So there's a different way it plays out. And so I never really saw Nancy as this particularly quick person or like energy all over the place. Never. I never saw her. I usually see her as a very solid, steady, kind of dependable.
Almost like patient, like just really thoughtful and Yeah.
But then, we were we went to this place for dinner, and it was a brewery and food and stuff because, it's Asheville. you can't go anywhere. It's not a brewery. And so you would sit down first, and then you could go to either one of the bars and order your food or your drinks. And while I was still studying the menu, as I do, and asking everybody else what they're
still trying to figure out a drink.
Do I want to drink this? Do I want to drink that? And then I realized Nancy had come back and sat down next to me. And I was just kind of like, I just looked at her. I was like, did you order? She's like, well, yeah. I mean, I just saw that there was no one there, so I just went and I just looked at you. That's why I started laughing because I was like, I did not even notice that she got up from the table, went to the bar, ordered all her stuff, sat down, and she was just very matter of fact, like, yeah, what? Yeah. She did that another time.
She managed to get her food before I think you still had ordered.
I don't think I even Hey, but we still both managed to eat. And I think we finished around the same time.
Yeah.
And there was something that she did another thing like that. I noticed it once or twice. I was like, oh, she does just kind of like, and I would start to recall these pieces of where a lot of times, yeah, she doesn't inform. Let's just say that. But she doesn't make me angry about it or anything. It's usually it doesn't involve me, so she doesn't need to inform me. But I would see that a lot of just kind of, there she goes.
Yep.
But anyway, so anything else you'd like to share about this weekend before we move into this week's topic?
No, the only thing is just praise for myself, but that sounds weird.
Oh, yes. I forgot. I will praise you, my dear projector. Yes. Haley read a poem by E.E. Cummings during the ceremony, which you were nervous about, correct?
Yes. I was nervous beforehand. Like even when because I was the second reading in it, like when the other girl, when she stood up and read hers, like in that instance, I got really nervous because I was like, oh God. But then
Next.
when I was actually like, as soon as I literally stood up, it's like the nerves went away. And that's very not me typically.
Well, you did review. We did go over it a few times.
It's very good. Otherwise, it would have been very bad.
Yeah, you definitely want to prepare a little bit. But you were asked to do it, and you did it, and everybody heard you. And I know people came up to you afterwards, and I think somebody even commented on how well you did on your poem. It's like, well, I didn't write the poem. It's just, obviously I read the poem, but it's a beautiful poem.
It was good.
You have it committed to memory? No.
No. I
You know
did
the
read
first
it to
line.
Bailey. I read it to Bailey when I got home.
Oh my God, I hold you in my heart. Well, I could see that. Now I'm thinking of that poem as a love letter to your dog.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I could see it. Yes, so you did a great job, and you created beautiful memories for them because did not even stumble over a single word. And it is not easy to read that poem because it has all those parentheses aside.
The one weird
cadence.
word or line that like tripped me up every other time.
But it was beautiful. So congratulations.
Thanks.
All right. Well, let's move on to today's topic, which is our July gates, the sun transit gates for July, which we probably shouldn't have chit-chatted too much because we got 6 gates. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gates to get through.
Oh, goodness.
Well, it just so happens that it's going to, on the 1st of July, go into a new gate. And then on the last day of July, it goes into a new gate. So little bookends there for the month, but they're all technically occurring in July. So why don't you give us the brief real quick for those who have not listened before, our transit episodes here and what they're about.
Yes. So roughly every 6 days, the sun will move into a new gate on the mandala. And so we do these episodes to kind of highlight what's going to be happening in the month so we can all kind of just be aware and kind of see how it plays out in our lives when the sun transits into these.
Yeah, and it helps us, as I've said before, we don't do everything this transiting. We're just focusing on the sun gates because the sun energy is 70% of a person's design. And the sun is something that, as the transit occurs, is affecting everyone. It's a very powerful energy on the planet. It's very powerful programming energy. And because, the sun is the massive star.
Yes.
In our solar system. So, so we just kind of talk about that so we can get a deeper understanding of the gates too. And so let's get started.
These episodes have helped me become just more aware. I may not, by the time we hit the month, remember exactly what gate we're into, but I am just starting to become more aware of just kind of paying attention to how I feel during the month and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think when we were, I can't even, oh yeah, so on the 15th, when the wedding was, it was a throat gate. It was gate 12, which was about feeling and expressing feeling. So maybe that helped you express that poem better. You were able to do it. Possibly. So, okay. So on July 1st, we're wrapping up June with a root gate, with gate 52. And now we're going to be staying in the root. And we're on July 1st, it'll move into gate 39, which, as I just said, is in the root. Oh, what are you doing? You're looking at it?
I was looking if I had.
You do not.
I do not.
No. And this in the I Ching is called the gate of, or not, excuse me, it's not a gate in the I Ching. It's called obstruction in the I Ching, the hexagram. In traditional, it's called the gate of provocation. And in quantum, it's called recalibration. So that's interesting. Really, if you think between provocation and recalibration, what could it be about? So
I don't really know what provocation means.
To be provoked? Provoking? Do you know what provoke means?
Yes.
Okay. So provocative, someone who's provocative, they elicit a response of some sort. They shake things up.
Okay.
So this gate 39 creates a channel with gate 55 in the solar plexus. So this is reaching towards the solar plexus. And the channel that they create is called emoting, which I always thought was a funny name for a channel. I'm emoting a lot today.
Now. I just think of emojis.
Oh, I just think emo. Like I was on a call earlier today, and they're like, because it was like a Gene Keys Human Design call and a group, and they're like, oh, if you can, just change your name to your profile and your type. And I'm like, I don't want to write emo. I'm an emo
generator.
But I did kind of smush it all together. Imogen. That emo always makes you feel like, well, I mean, the stereotype of
the emo kids.
Yeah, they're emotional, they're moody. Well, there's that energy in this channel for sure. And so gate 39 really is about provocation, provoking in order to, this is what it says, to empower spiritual awareness. Okay, so what does that mean? So it's reaching to gate 55, which is the gate of spirit and abundance. It's in the solar plexus. And as I said, and it's really this energy of saying that you can connect with your spirit awareness and endure the emotional fluctuations. It's basically trying to it's provoking an emotional reaction, really, or an emotional experience, I should say, because through our emotions is how we create, and it's a big part of our own humanness is having emotions, right? And so if you have this gate, you probably have this energy that tends to poke people, provoke people, whether you mean to or not, because it is kind of looking for a reaction, because the channel, the 3955, goes through the solar plexus up to that 1222. And so that's individual circuitry. It's mutative circuitry. And it's, like I said, there's a lot of emotional energy within that. But that emotional wave is also about, in the lows of that wave, there is this a lot of creative potential more in the darkness and in the deepness. That's where a lot of this emotional energy or this creativity comes from, is through the solar plexus. And so what's interesting is this gate is intended to evoke some kind of response out of people, an emotional response. And if you have this gate, especially as your sun gate, whether you're aware of it or not, if you're not aware of it, this might be rather enlightening to you. If you are aware of it, you're like, yep, I get it. Because you don't always intend to be someone who provokes people to get a reaction out of people, but it can happen. And so what's interesting is that if you're getting a lot of negative reactions, a lot of times that indicates that the people there, the individuals that are having this negative reaction, aren't necessarily suited for you and for what it is that you're here to create. And it's also worth noting that within ourselves, in order to deepen our own understanding and through personal growth, and we kind of have to be aware of our emotions and be comfortable with sitting with our emotions and understanding that, because we've talked about this a lot, that growth comes through not just everything being great all the time, but comes through things happening to you. And so for this person who has this gate, let's say, to understand that your emotional energy is going to have a lot of impact on those around you. And your emotions can unintentionally influence those around you. So learning how to navigate your own emotional energy, and this is true whether you're defined or undefined. If you just have this gate, I mean, you have emotions. We all have emotional energy. It's whether or not we experience it consistently or differently, right? The way I always saw this gate is kind of like a when you're tuning a guitar, right? There's like hitting that one chord or whatever. Like you have to know how to tune that frequency to get it into the right frequency. And this person's energy kind of does that in the environment. Like if something is out of tune, out of frequency, if something needs to be aligned or something needs to be, I don't say corrected, but maybe dealt with or processed or whatever, and this person enters your environment, it can really kind of heighten the emotional energy in the room. So I know someone personally that has this energy that does seem to, and she doesn't have the full channel, she just has one gate. And she has an interesting effect on the people around her. And I noticed that the people who are, let's say, less spiritually evolved, which I'm not trying to throw shade on anyone, but I see the interaction she has with people. They have very severe reactions to her a lot of times. A lot of times what she says is taken out of context, or they blame her for things, or they think that she's trying to provoke them when she's not, which is most interesting. They feel that she's an instigator, but I can see it from the outside that it's not necessarily
That is
true.
not her.
Yeah. But then also if she is in her lower moments, she could be creating some of that drama without even realizing, because her emotional state is low. And if she's not understanding her emotional impact when she's interacting with these people, it could bring out, so like really she should or could only interact with those people when she knows she's in a higher vibe place, that she might not get that same kind of reaction. But if she's feeling vulnerable or she's feeling insecure or in a low anyhow, and she interacts with those people, it's going to create maybe a different experience for her. So most important in this provocation is about growth, and it is about your emotions, and it's meant to create change. It's meant for you to be able to bring something new forth because it's in that mutative channel. So it has a good purpose.
It is interesting how much in describing that gate that you talked about emotion, because it's in the root, and through my learning on human design here, I really just associate emotion with the solar plexus. Like I haven't really thought or realized that it also plays into some of the other gates. I just kind of emotion, solar plexus, like that's the association in my brain.
Well, and true, but the fact that it connects to the solar plexus, that provocation is to elicit an emotional response, because it needs to. Because if you remember, everything coming off of that side of the root through the solar plexus is more experiential learning and energy. And so it is more of this and individual. So it is about feeling and experiencing and everything else. And so it is a pressure though. It is a pressure to feel. So it can create situations that will create some kind of feeling. And so I think to be mindful if you have that energy, or as we are moving through those 6 days or so, if you know you're going to be in a situation around people that maybe things aren't always that great around them, maybe limit your exposure or get a handle on how you're feeling and get yourself in a better feeling place so that if you do have to be interaction like work or whatever, it could maybe go a little bit more smoothly. So kind of check yourself before you wreck yourself. So, but ultimately, like I said, it connects the gate of spirit. It's all about spiritual awareness, emotional awareness, and getting in touch with that. So really just throughout those coming days, just seeing if you're really in a, like I just said, correct mindset or emotional feeling place to positively influence others instead of influencing others with your bad mood. Okay, so that's gate 39. And then on July 7th, we're going to move into gate 53, which is also in the root in the I Ching known as development. In traditional human design, it's gate of starting. And also in quantum, it's called starting. And it's the channel, it's the root to the sacral in the channel of maturation. And this channel is all about cycles, beginnings and endings.
Okay.
This is the beginnings, which makes sense because it's in the root center. It's the pressure to start something new. And it's this really is the fuel, because remember the root is adrenalized energy. The fuel and the pressure to start something new, to get something into action. So if you have this energy in your chart, someone very close to you does, your husband. Yes, he has this as his conscious sun is gate 53. And these people that carry this energy are serial starters. They're just always wanting to start things. And for him, as his earth gate, that's what helps bring forth his sun gate, gate 54, ambition, is wanting to start new things and do new things. But so gate 53 is the spark that initiates cycles of growth, really, in various areas, such as relationships or ideas, projects, trends, businesses, anything, right? This is that energy that is required to create that initiating spark of being able to push things to get them started. And a lot of times people that have this gate don't always have the full channel. I don't have statistics on that, but if you have the full channel, you're in a better position because you have a better understanding of knowing when to bring things to completion as well. But with just having the starting energy, these people, I think we talked about this in our root center episode, that there could be a lot of self-projected negativity in the sense that you can beat yourself up for not finishing things, especially say you have this in your manifesting generator as well. It's like you're always starting things but not finishing them, but you're not necessarily, if you don't have that other gate, you're not supposed to. Yeah, you're supposed to really connect with other people that know how to bring things to completion. You're the person that just has the energy to get the project off the ground. Yeah. And so it's also being able to have that focus of knowing strategically like where to focus this energy as well, this initiating energy, to know what's going to give it the best chance for success for getting off the ground. And as we just said, if you don't have the other end of that gate, or you don't know where it's going to end up, it can stop you from using your innate gifts of starting things, initiating. Because if you do it enough times and you start to feel like, what's wrong with me? I have all this energy to want to start things, but you just fizzle out if there's not someone there to help you take it across the finish line. And what I always say, if you have that gate prominently, is to give yourself some grace on that, because energetically, you're not designed to do that. You're designed to help find the people that can help you make those connections to bring it to completion. It's kind of like, Reminds me of the gate 11, gate of ideas, in the sense that they have lots of ideas and they think they need to act on them all, but they don't. So really, if you have this gate and gate 11 and you don't have the other ends, oh, your face, oh, you poor thing. No, it just means you're meant to like really get things moving and generate ideas. And you're kind of like that impetus behind, you're the visionary. You're the one that has all the visions, right? Which I definitely am not a visionary. I don't consider myself a visionary.
Don't you have gate 11 though?
No, I don't.
Oh, I thought we just
I don't
talked
have
about
either
you
one of
having it.
those. Nah, I don't have either one of those.
No, you've. What is the one I'm thinking of then?
Mm.
It's answers. That's what I'm thinking of. That's it.
Youthful folly? I think I have answers.
Yes.
I come up with an answer. But anyways. And so really the best expression of this is understanding that you're really here, like I said, to help take the impetus and get it moving. And when we say with it being that adrenalized energy is like, I think that one was cycles, beginnings and endings of being ready when the pulse is on and when the energy is there to get started, to make sure that you've got your ducks in a row. You don't have any loose ends that you need tidied up, because you're going to start something new. You have to make sure that you're ready for when the inspiration and when the thing comes through, that you're ready to hit the ground running. And again, don't beat yourself up if you don't know how it's going to end or what is going to become of it. That's not the point. The point is to respond to something because it's in the generated channel, to respond, to be ready for the call. I see it as that way. Oh, and just don't burn out by trying to complete things that you're not necessarily meant to. So as we're looking at where it's falling right now in this context of civilization, we're still in the quarter of civilization, about building things, having the energy of starting things. Contemplating for yourself, like, are there things right now? Are there new beginnings, new ideas, new experiences that I'm really interested in or drawn to right now? What are those things? What would I need to do to get ready if something like that was to present itself? Or would I see the opportunity and would I be able to get into motion? Have I laid the groundwork, let's say? How can you be prepared? How can you align with the energy of what it is that you would like to get started? And I think really it's like, are you willing to just start and take the chance and see what comes of it, right? Because unless you know the person on the other end that you're dealing with or wanting to get into some kind of collaboration with has the other side, and they can figure it out for you. But don't beat up on yourself if you don't have all the ideas figured out and know where it's going to go. Just get it started. Somebody has to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now as we move on to the next gate, we're going to start going back around all the gates of the throat. So we took a little detour. There's a lot of gates in the throat. There's like 11 gates in the throat.
I feel like we did them all in one of the last couple months.
No, that's what it felt like. Because one month it was like, I think it was May. It was mostly
just throat gates.
Yeah, there's 11 gates in the throat. I count that all the time. You think I know? I count it all the time. I think I even wrote it down in my notes. 11 gates. No, I think it was May was a lot of throat gates, which made sense because that's where we kicked off the quarter of civilization. Was the beginning of May. I think it starts in gate 2, but then we started doing this tour. And then we moved up to the throat in June. Little detour in the G with gate 15. Then we last couple gates here is the root, and now we're going back to the throat, which is that to the throat. Makes sense if you think about civilization is about creating things, building things this quarter, and so root center, throat center, and also G center of knowing why you're doing the things. Makes sense. So we're bouncing back up now to gate 62 in the throat. And that connects to the ajna.
Ooh.
Gate 17, they create the channel of acceptance, but 62 is known as the preponderance of the small.
Ooh.
Gate of details in traditional. And And somebody says details to me and I go, ugh. And you say, details. Ugh. And in quantum human design, it's known as preparation. So let me see what a little bit you know about up there. What would you think Gate 62's themes would be about? Just generally. You don't have to give me exact.
I don't know, but it creates a channel for me because I have 17 in the Ajna.
But 17 is opinions.
Opinions.
It's a logic circuitry. If you remember, it comes down from...
so it's 17's opinions, logic. So I would think 62 is about expressing, obviously some way expressing those opinions, but kind of through the experience of experimenting, something along those lines.
It's very good. It's a lot like some of the other gates that we talked about that are right there at the top of the throat center connecting to the ajna. So if you think about what those three streams of consciousness are, it's about logic, understanding, or knowing, right? And so this is giving voice, expressing language, understand, or language for that logic circuitry. So you're right. It has to do with being able to give voice to that. And so this really, they say, this gate is where language comes from, because it is taking logic and patterns and things that what is it? The gate 4, I think, is the left eye. Patterns, recognizing patterns, all that stuff is in logic. And it is about paying attention to the details and logical facts. And it's like being a programmer, being able to write the language for what it is that is trying to be transmitted in a way, to use language to express and to uplift others through logic. So, because logic is all about the future and trying to create safety in the future through understanding what we know and trying to predict what can happen. But it's really about organizing, detailing of ideas, concepts, transforming these concepts into practical, understandable information. And it's being able to articulate the details of a certain idea or concept so that people can like get on board. Like I said, it's about using language, and it represents the logical mind. So it's values precise, articulate communication. No fluff and general ideas like on the other side, or you think I know something. No, this is like, here's the facts, ma'am. And here's how it can help you. It prioritizes data and factual accuracy, supporting its ideas or concepts or whatever with actual evidence, right? And I think it's really interesting. Yeah. Right. So, but the idea is to take that information, those ideas, and like I said, if we're trying to create security in our future, it's like, how do we communicate that this is a good idea to the collective so that everybody gets on board? In the real world, like today, it's a great asset if you have this gate, if you're like somebody that is in a field of communication, to like people, obviously scientists, doctors, lawyers, marketers, people who have to use like facts in order to communicate and get people through is a great get people on board. It's a prime communication gate for sure, which I don't have it. There's nothing logical happening here. Because it's the ability to articulate ideas clearly and logically. I try, but I have that other gate. Sometimes there's not language for what I know, so I just make shit up. So anyways,
Yeah.
On the flip side of this, kind of like an unbalanced expression is really getting too into the details, getting just like too myopic and too like not understanding, the bigger pictures, kind of lose the bigger picture, and making it a little bit harder for people to understand you. Because I know we mentioned this before, and it was about communication and it was probably in that gate 23 of how do you make this knowledge understandable. And that's what all those gates are coming off the Ajna, which we're going to talk about the 56 here shortly. Next is about how do we take this out to, bring it into the world, because it's only an idea and a concept. Doesn't do anything up here until it comes out, right? So the challenge here is to balance detail and clarity, making sure you have just enough detail, but not too much that it just gets lost in the sauce. Because it reminds me of watching a video I was watching the other day with Neil deGrasse Tyson. I said that right. And he was saying something about, what do 4-dimensional beings experience? And I'm like, how do you know that? But anyway, so he talked about 2-dimensional beings and 3-dimensional beings. And he's very good at explaining things, but it got about 8 minutes into the video that I'm like, yeah, I don't understand anymore. Because sometimes he moves too fast. He's very good at explaining, but it takes my brain a lot longer to not have so many technical details. Technical details for me can get me just, I don't hear it. I don't know about you. Are you good at reading technical, like detailed writing?
I don't, it may depend on how technical it is.
You can read written instructions.
Yes, I may have to read it twice, but I can read them and figure them out. But it is interesting on those. A lot of times I'll have to read it out loud to fully understand it.
There's a book I'm reading right now is about neuroscience. And I found myself last night, I read this sentence like 4 times. And then I had to read it out loud to see if I could understand. And it wasn't really complicated. It's just when it used a lot of words that were unfamiliar to me, I was spending so much time trying to then translate those words into language I understood to make sense of what they were saying.
Yeah. Talking about this made me remember something. I think it was in high school when I had to read The Great Gatsby. I had to have you read it out loud to me.
Oh, really?
Because I couldn't understand it otherwise. Like, I remember sitting. Yeah, I remember, like, that was the only way I could read it. It was for you to read it out loud to me. That was the only way I could understand it.
That's interesting. I don't remember that at all. I didn't read the whole thing to you.
I mean, it's not thick. It's not a very big book.
But it's a novel.
It's like a novel that's like this thick. It's not a very long book.
How? Talk about
I remember
your brain.
sitting on your bed and you reading it to me. And I was like, high
your
school.
brain making space for new things by like just completely dropping everything else. It doesn't seem relevant.
Like, I don't need
recollection.
this.
I'll probably remember more about that like 3 or 4 hours from now. I'll be like, oh yeah, now I remember. But right now in the moment, never happened.
Yeah. But it's interesting because I think that was probably some of that 56, the other, or not, maybe not, but the other side of the ajna there. And I don't have that, and you do.
What?
11, maybe? I don't know.
I don't have that.
But you have. But I don't have
I have 43, 23. I have 23. You do not. You have 43.
Yes, I know
But you have 17. I don't have it. I will say, though, it's not on the Human Design chart, but Chiron, which is planetoid, which does have influence on you, just doesn't show up on your chart. Mine is in, I think my unconscious Chiron's in 17. So there is that. I mean, but you have it. Oh, it's your south node and your unconscious south node. And you have it. Oh, it's your Saturn. It's your conscious Saturn. Yes. Opinions, not fact, Haley. But anyway, so when you're trying to communicate to people, it is good to get the details across of what they need to know, but don't get too bogged down in the minutia. So things you can contemplate during this time is how you use your communication skills to benefit others and maybe serve a higher purpose, because that's what that energy is for. It's collective energy. Is how does this help? What I know, how does it help? And also, what steps could you take to enhance your communication skills or influence if there is perhaps something that maybe it's in your job or something you're interested in doing or pursuing that's going to require you to be speaking more and explaining things to people or concepts or whatever. Especially during this time, there is that energy there that can help you kind of do that in a way, but also contemplating and really reflecting on these parts of yourself to see if that's something you can improve and how you can do that. And also just recognizing the impact that your words do have on others and making sure they're helpful. And what intentions you have. Are you really using your words to help better people, or are you doing it for your own gain? Which I think if you're listening to this, you're kind of cool people. You're not trying to out there manipulate people for your own good.
Yeah.
I think you're out there trying to figure out your own shit so that you can have a positive influence on those around you. So we see you.
Yes. Welcome.
Kudos to you. All right, let's move on.
Okay.
I will never get through July.
I think that was the third gate.
That was the third gate. So now we're going to hop over to the next throat gate on the 19th of July, to the other side of the throat, gate 56, which is known as in the I Ching, the Wanderer.
Ooh.
In traditional human design, it's stimulation. And in quantum, it is expansion. And it is it creates the channel of curiosity with gate 11, as we were talking about, the gate of ideas. And I really like the energy of this gate. It is some people also call it like a storytelling gate. And so it is about storytelling and memories, because we just talked about the logical voice. This is going to be the voice of what?
To create abstract creation.
Abstract experience. Yeah. It's like more of experiential, but also, what the process that it is expressing that starts in gate 64 and comes through the ajna, the concepts is like, what happened? Why did it happen? What can we learn from it? Right? So as humans, how have we learned throughout the millennia? How did we learn? Stories. And then it wasn't written at first. It was just the spoken word.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth. That's right. And so this gate here is about bringing ideas together, those ideas from 11, and using memory and experience and storytelling in order to help shape the direction and what it is people need to know or to learn or to whatever. And so it's like, so they say it's like the modern day version of like the bard, people with storyteller. I just always have this, not always, but recently, the version of the guy in the Witcher. Is he a bard? Do they call him a bard?
Yeah, I think so.
He's always making up songs.
Toss a coin to your Witcher.
To tell the trials and the triumphs of the Witcher, right? And I think back to like all the silly things like Monty Python and all these other things when they were talking about people or stories from back in the day. That was somebody's job that just like entertained people through story and song in order to get the word out.
Is that TikTok now? But
only if they're actually doing something good and trying to help people shape our direction here. But so it's people who are really good at using storytelling, sharing relatable stories, life lessons, observations, things that really pull people in and engage them. It's the energy of being able to hold people's attention and tell them the story with the intention of helping to uplift. It's a very positive, lighthearted energy here. There's a lot of, like, I think, used in the good expression or higher expression of creating that environment of lighthearted. Because, I mean, we can learn through story, but we're more when we're positively impacted, and someone who in your life, let's say, that always brings the best stories, and you just laugh and there's joy and it's all this stuff like, oh my gosh, you would probably be more likely to want to listen to what that person has to say
Yeah.
and the lessons they have to instill upon you.
You don't want to listen to the stories that are just like beat you down and boring and gut wrenching. You're like, no, I'm gonna go. I like their stories.
Yeah. And it could happen, but these are the people who the casual historian, someone who just like shares the their experiences, other people's experiences. And it's about sharing ideas, beliefs, and ideas that can offer solutions. So it is the sharing of the collective ideas of what could be. And it's not necessarily action oriented. It's just kind of, because I know people who are, you think about influencers or people who use social media, or they're writers, or they're in some kind of expressive thing like that. They sometimes question, is what I do valuable? And it's like, it's so valuable to be able to craft a story and tell a story, because you're going to have an amazing impact on people. To be able to take that and take anything and put it into words that evoke something out of people is incredible, I think, because it's definitely not my strong suit. I can barely speak.
Mad props to like writers everywhere being able to even just come up with the stories.
Yeah. Yeah. And they don't always have to be factual stories. I mean, allegory is that the right word? Allegory is a good teaching method. Fables, the tales, the tall tales, all those things. Yeah. So, of course, if you have this gate and you don't have gate 11, you can sometimes feel like you don't have anything interesting to share. You're always looking for ideas, but, get out there in the world. I'm sure we all experience something. You be around someone will give you something to talk about. But, these ideas are to help expand us and move us forward, but also to be mindful of not getting stuck in limiting stories. As we talked about, nobody wants to be like, because what you say and the stories you tell yourself shape your experience for sure. And so this is crucial. Let's talk about in that manifesting process. Make sure that the stories you're telling are worth telling and are telling a story of where you want to be, where you want to go, and not where you have been that you're not happy with or you're stuck in. You can get stuck in there for sure. So during this time, if you have something you want to express, it would be a good time. Maybe playing around with storytelling, maybe write a short story. You don't have to share it with anybody. Just kind of play around with your ability to craft a story and see what it goes. But also to pay attention to when you speak and you tell stories, do you tend to embellish stories, manipulate the truth? Is that helpful? There can be things that are entertaining, but also just be mindful of whether it's entertainment or manipulation. It's a fine line, I think. I think we all know. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't have these gates, but I do have other gates that could be a little, if used improperly, a little manipulative, but manipulation is not always a bad thing. If you're,
it always sounds bad, though.
It does. It's one of those words that sounds bad. But, I think when we talk about like the 44 and 26, manipulation is like, can be, if you're coming from a good place and integrity, you're like when you teach a child something through a story, you might be manipulating how they're thinking, but ultimately your goal is to teach them something valuable. And that's the energy here.
Yeah.
So
not bending to your will. That's the manipulation we don't want.
And there's a lot of that, but we don't want that. So anyway, so just kind of pay attention to stories you tell, stories you hear throughout those days. Interesting. Maybe. We'll see what happens. Okay. So hard for me to transition. So moving on to the 24th, we're going to move into gate 31, which reaches towards the G center, towards gate 7. And gate 31 is known as influence, both in the I Ching and traditional. And in quantum, it's called the leader. And in the channel it creates with gate 7, it's called the alpha. And this language here is about utilizing, or this energy here is about utilizing language to influence, or again, manipulate, influence others and the collective. Okay, so it is this channel in particular has a lot of leadership energy. Obviously, it's the leader. So it gives voice to, or it is the voice of what you think is beneficial to the collective. It's inspiring, it's influencing, it's kind of a logical voice because it is trying to like say, hey, if this is what you want to do, these are the things we need to do, steps we need to take. It focuses on setting a direction and showing others a way rather than doing things for them. So,
Did you say Presley had this one?
he
think
has,
so.
yes, he has this one. So, yeah, so it focuses on showing the way, but not necessarily doing it. So, if you think about influence and what influence is, it is important for a leader to be able to influence those that they are leading. And what's important in this energy here is this is not authoritative energy. It is where democracy lives in the chart, is kind of in these gates in this channel, because it is gate 7 will say like, I choose, or this is what I choose. This is what I choose to do or to be, or it has its own leadership energy in there. And this is energy that is recognized also because it's a projected channel that can then influence those that they lead. So if you have this gate, there is a natural energy you have about you that people are going to listen to you and what you have to say. And so you have to be responsible with that energy, because if it's being undermined by, say, your own personal agenda for like monetary gains or for power, that's not helping your group or the collective. It is really just for your own use. And that's not what this energy is for. Because since it's a collective gate, your influence is meant to help empower those that look to you in order to make change that is good for everybody. Right? If you think about it like that, it's having a clear vision, like being an effective leader involves sharing your ideas and an achievable future that others, those that you lead, can execute. Or just if you're just in your own community or environment or whatever, and you have, when we talk about like a lot of these concepts, I know a lot of times it makes it sound like you have to be some big player on the world stage. I know it sounds like that a lot of times, but bringing it down into practical applications, even if you've never worked outside of the home or have any aspirations to be someone to have this big impact, but you've had this gate, you're still someone that, or we still carry this energy within our chart of being able to use our ability to create or to use our voice to create a vision to help lead people in the right direction that's best for everyone.
Presley is really embodying this in his work right now. Like you can really see it because he moved to product maybe a month or 2 ago now. And it was kind of a little bit of a shit show. Like just people not clear vision, like a lot of tension and all this. And like since he's gone into product, he has really he has set the vision for the team. Like people really are following what he's saying. He's introduced new ideas, new techniques, and like people, and even his boss is very surprised. It's like people that have previously resisted what product has been trying to do have come around once Presley has come into the picture and kind of explained it and kind of showed how it's going to help and all of this. So I can really see this gate.
That's great. No, that's a great example of it, because it is him using that ability to, and it's an unconscious placement in his chart. It's not that he's really aware of that he has this special gift for it. It just, like you just said, in retrospect, after we talked about this in the previous episodes about the unconscious side, he could, in retrospect, see, oh yeah, I guess I did do that. But since it's unconscious in him, he's not thinking about how he's going to do it. He just has a natural ability to be able to put that into place. And like you said, for him to be able to show that it benefits everyone and it's going to be better if we do it this way is truly a gift. And that's that kind of leadership that you're looking for, because it's listening and learning and hearing from the people that you lead what their needs are, right? And knowing, okay, well, if they want to get here, how am I going to get them here? And being able to craft that vision and show them the way. But he's not going to take every single person by the hand and get them there. Like, it's up to them. He provides the vision and the structure and the inspiration and influences them in that way. So that's a great way of showing an example of that. That's great. So during this time, thinking about if you're using your own personal influence or your language or your skills when you are influencing others, are you coming from a sense of or a place of service, being humble and knowing that the direction you're offering is to help everyone? Are you using it in that way? If you are a leader, how can you improve your communication skills, or you're in a position of leadership, I should say, and maybe you've had a little difficulty with this, maybe reevaluating your communication style and skills. How could you be more motivational or inspirational, lead people more effectively? And really, do you really understand those that you're leading or you want to lead? Do you understand what it is they need? Do you have a vision for them? How can you help get them there? And how can you help communicate that to them? So, yeah, something to consider there. So, last gate. On the very last day of July 31st, we are going to move into gate 33, which again, hopping over to the other side of the throat.
Interesting.
Bing, bang, bong, boom.
Too, like, it's showing both sides of kind of how things play out.
Yeah. And I believe, yes, this gate 33, as you just pointed out, being a gate quarter civilization, is the last gate in the quarter of civilization.
Oh, okay. So how do we end this quarter?
Well, gate 33 is called retreat. It's also referred to as gate of privacy. And in quantum, here's a hint, in quantum, it's called retelling. Okay. So it creates a channel with gate 13 in the G center. That channel is called the prodigal. And I'm going to go off on a tangent here real quick. Okay. So we're all very familiar with the prodigal son and that story and the prodigal. And we always associate prodigal with meaning someone who returns with the story and whatever. Sure. I was listening to a podcast on our trip. I don't remember which one it was now, but they mentioned the word prodigal, about how prodigal does not actually mean someone who comes back into the fold or whatever. Okay. Prodigal is actually someone who is unwise with their money. Oh. Because that's what that story was. He came back and the father brought him back. And remember this, he had the two sons, the biblical story. He had two sons, and one, he gave them both money, I think it was, in one state. And he was there and he helped with the family and reinvested in the land and they built something. And the other one just went off. You can tell we grew up in a real religious background. You went to Sunday school. And the other son just took off and didn't help with anything and took his money and he spent it all. He blew it. He went on an amazing gap year or 3, I don't know. But he left. And then when he was broke and he had nothing left, he came home. And his father welcomed him with open arms back into the fold. And I think it was on the Unmade podcast, because the one guy on there is a minister. Tim's a minister. If you're the Unmade podcast.
I know of the podcast. I don't listen very often.
Well, anyways, he was the one that said, actually, that's the story, is he spent his money, his father. And he says it's an example in the Bible. It's supposed to be an example of God's grace, that you can be a complete fuck up and God will welcome you back. He didn't say that. Those are my words.
That is very interesting.
But really, they call it the prodigal son is the story. And it's like, oh, he came back. But
it's always actually, he did great. But now he's coming back to That's how
Well,
I
it's not
always
that he
thought of
did
it.
great. He's still disgraced, but his father welcomes him back, and the son who stayed is very bitter about his projector.
Because I always thought
But no, I'm
like
just
being the
kidding.
prodigal son was like a good thing.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think it's a story we always associate with someone returning, which is what this gate is returning, retelling, privacy, or retreating. But it's really about not being good with your money, which is not what this gate is about. But that's why I was like, oh, well, that channel now, I
Oh,
can't look at it without thinking of that story. I'm like, well, that's not what prodigal means.
oh.
So, anyways, if you have thoughts on that, let's discuss. Let me know. Remember, you can always on the app that you listen to, there should be right at the top of each episode somewhere where you can reach out and have a question or leave a comment that'll come directly to me. Okay, let me know and I'll read it out. Also, just side note, anytime you want to do that, you have a question and you ask the question there, I will answer it on the podcast. So if you want to be a part of things, make sure you have your question there and we'll
We
get to
love
it.
questions.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so back on track.
Yes.
So this gate, retelling, all right, retreat, privacy.
Uh-huh.
This also involves storytelling and narrative and telling stories from your experiences of the past. And what this energy then is you, it has that privacy and retreat because it means that in order to find a meaning, we often need to retreat. Like, because it isn't that abstract circuitry that we talked about. You don't always know what the lesson is or what was to be experienced and learned, what was gained from it, the wisdom from it until after. And not just after, it doesn't come right away. A lot of times it takes time to process and to really understand what happened. And that requires often retreating and getting with yourself and finding that understanding for yourself. And so these people are really good at kind of sussing that out, but also they enjoy learning and sharing their wisdom and other people's wisdom as well. They're inspired by other people's stories and experiences and seeing how they could use those experiences to gain meaning and wisdom out of it. And so this really is about that time where you stop and contemplate and rehash, reframe, see what's happening there. And so this channel is very, very important in the whole process of creating a life that you want and the manifestation process and all that stuff, because this is where you create narratives in your life. And this is where you can also create new narratives that you want to live by and believe, because a belief is just a thought you continue to think. And so it's shaped by your past experiences, beliefs are. And so in this gate, in this energy is, maybe during this time, it's interesting, it's the last gate in this quarter of building and getting stuff out into the world before we move into the quarter about relationships and bonding and duality and things with others. This is really about what was learned. This is what I did, or am doing. This is the experience. What can be gained from this experience? So it's this time in this period of withdrawal, being still. And it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be limited to your own memories. There's collective memories of experiences, like the prodigal son. What is the lesson learned there? It's like all these things. What can we learn and what can we take forward? What is valuable? What is meaningful? And what can help us as we move forward? Wisdom through experience. I love the energy here. It's really interesting.
It is nice.
Yeah. So again, this is a place where people can get stuck, though, in those disempowering stories that we tell ourselves. And we all know, or maybe we don't, but I'm here to tell you that the first step in creating what you want is to see what it is you're telling yourself about where you are and where you've been. Because they say something about, I've got it. It's in my head. It's not going to come out right now. But Yeah, never try to bring your past into your future. It's not going to work. It's just like it's just going to be more of the same.
It's the past for a reason.
Yeah. And so also in this gate, be mindful of, are you, as I said, are you listening to your own stories, your own narrative, creating your own narrative? There is a risk there of getting stuck in listening to other people's narratives more than your own and taking that on as a belief or as a truth, like a certain dogma, like a religion or spiritual beliefs or gurus or teachers that going against what you know for
Idols.
yourself. Yeah. Going against what you know for yourself and trusting and valuing other people's stories over your own. So just paying attention to that. But yeah, so really just thinking about that as we close out July and we move into a new quarter, think about, is there something that you're being called to share? Is there something that you feel that could have a positive impact? Like I said, this doesn't mean you have to go like write a blog post or share on social media, but just one-to-one. What is something that you feel called that could help someone else? Or just maybe a lot of journaling during this time, helping you have that extra energy of being able to tap into that wisdom and understand, maybe help yourself get some more understanding of what happened. And are you holding back what you know or you learned? Are you afraid of people judging you? Just there's a lot of things around your stories, your narrative. And are you telling stories that are helpful for yourself and for others? Or is it continuing to create a narrative that you don't want to be a part of anymore? So something interesting to look into. So a lot of throat energy here, just getting it all out there in the world. We basically covered within the last 2 to 3 months, 2.5, 3 months, all the gates in the throat. That would be 11 weeks, or roughly 11 weeks. So there's a lot of, makes sense, like you said, in the quarter of civilization about externalizing.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting as we move into the next quarter in August, where we go from there.
Duality.
Yes. So any final thoughts on that, Haley, before we move on?
Nope.
Okay, so you know what that means.
The Incarnation Cross of the week.
You've really hitting a consistent note there.
Thank you.
Which I did while I was listening to Unmade podcast. I had to chuckle because that is the inspiration of you just singing off Incarnation, because they have the spoon of the week as a segment. They have a little piano accompaniment, but we're not musicians. So we're going to drop that. Okay, so this week's Incarnation Cross of the week is a left angle cross.
Ooh.
And it is the left angle cross of Endeavor. Sounds very industrious.
It does.
So this cross consists of, on the conscious side, Sun in gate 21, the hunter or huntress. In the earth is going to be gate 48, depth.
Okay.
On the unconscious side, gate 54, the sun is in gate 54, ambition. And, not ironically, the earth is in a gate 53, as we just talked about, beginnings, starting things.
So we got the hunter, huntress, depth, ambition, and beginnings.
And the endeavor. So it's a left angle cross. So this profile is...
It starts with a 5 or a 6.
Correct.
And I think that's it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So it's definitely about your life
External.
path. Yeah, involves others.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you're born under this cross, your life's path and purpose are deeply rooted in your capacity to manage and control material resources. You thrive when you're in a position of authority within your community where you can make significant decisions about resources such as money, food, lifestyle, territory. This role is not just about your own personal gain, it's about ensuring the well-being and prosperity of the community as a whole. Your ability to oversee these resources and make strategic decisions places you at the heart of communal success. Moreover, you possess an inner drive that propels you forward in various areas of your life, professionally, personally, spiritually. Your ambition doesn't stop with you. It extends to those around you, lifting your entire community towards greater prosperity. You have a knack for offering logical and practical solutions, combined with your deep knowledge and intuition, which allows you to refine your environment and optimize other people's abilities as well.
Mm.
You are also someone who feels the pressure to initiate new experiences, and projects. This makes you the ideal person to kickstart new ventures and then attract others to help develop and complete them. In doing so, you create opportunities to share your knowledge and insight with others and fosters a cycle of continuous growth and improvement for everyone involved. I endeavor to succeed. I will show you the way. I'd say there's a lot of leader in that cross there.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
But yeah, I didn't think we talked so much about that in the beginnings, but we did. So yeah, that is the left angle cross of Endeavor. So, all right. Programming note again. We are going to be taking a little time off. Just a little break. We're on a break. So don't break up with us. We're only on a little break. Don't go start dating another podcast. We will be getting back together. Sorry. A little Friends reference there. We were on a break. Anyways, if you're my age, you know what I'm talking about. But
if you're my age, you know what you're talking about.
Okay, I'm sorry. So yeah, we're hitting a little pause. We have a few things. One, it's summer. Things slow down in the summer. Apparently we have the time here we're supposed to be doing a little reflecting here anyhow. But as I've said many times, it's as much as I love the podcast, it is time consuming and I get behind sometimes. And so I want to take a pause, regroup, get some episodes recorded. We're collaborating on a few things that we're excited about, but I don't know exactly how many weeks. And so I think I might throw up some either other episodes I think you should listen to. Again, I could maybe highlight those. I might just put a little clips reel together of some good clips, but I don't know if I have the energy for that either. I'm just talking big right now. But definitely, without fail, there will be the August episode coming up with the gates. But I think I'll probably have something else before then too. But I don't know. As I'm explaining this, I realize I'm trying to create some kind of narrative that I don't want everybody to think I'm a slacker and I'm just not doing it and I'm not prepared because everybody else out there in the world, in the podcasting world and in the human design and in the coaching or whatever, everybody seems so together and they're so planned out. But you know what?
But you know what? That's a front.
It's not my design. It's not my design. I was contemplating this earlier of like, I've never had a really good plan in my life of what's next. And I've done okay. It's gotten me here. I've followed the signs.
You are a generator.
I'm not supposed to have all of it figured out. My intention is, though, I want to be very clear. My intention is to keep going and keep bringing more of whatever I can offer to the world through this podcast. Not giving up. That's not it. We're just taking a little break. We got to recalibrate.
There you go.
It's fitting. It's fitting,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Wow.
Feeling that energy early. But as I say that, I just want to let you know how much we appreciate you listening and being here, and to pay attention. I'll still be on social media. I'm not going silent. It's not that. It's just need to open up some space for something else. So I need a little pause for a moment.
Yeah.
But we will be back. We will be back. Yeah. Sooner than you think. You probably will be listening to this episode after we already came back. And we're like, oh, I didn't even know they left. And that's the point. We put so much importance on ourselves and what we think, like everybody's hanging on my every word. They're not. So that's the beauty of podcasting too. You can come into this world at any time you want. And we're happy to have you here. So anyways, all right. Well, I'm going to end it there, Haley. For real. For real, for real.
You can tell neither one of us has the gate of endings.
42?
Yeah.
No ending. We have no clue.
Nope. It's nope.
I apologize to any of you out there that know how to really wrap things up. I do not. But okay, that's it. Haley, see, you did it again. I said I was going to end right there, and we didn't. All right.
I am my father's child.
Yes. So I will say goodbye, and we appreciate you. We love you. And we look forward to coming back after our little break and being together again. So until then, Hali, bye for now.
Bye.
You made it all the way to the end of today's episode, so you must have liked what you heard. If you did, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode, and perhaps leave us a good review. And if you know someone who wants to dig into all things human design with us, make sure you share the Human Design Hive podcast with them. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.